Hi everyone, I'm Amy, and this is the Helms Academy's Writing Club recap from April 7th, 2020. Whether you missed us live or you just want a review, let's get started. So our opening question for the day is this: what comes to mind when you think about grammar? So when people think about grammar, some people think that they hate it, some people really love it, some people struggle to remember and understand all the rules about it. But whatever that is for you, start with that. Think to yourself, what is it that I think about when I think about grammar? So no matter what your initial thoughts are about grammar, whether you love it or you hate it, or you think that it's just difficult to understand, or you fall somewhere in between, I think we can all agree that it's really important to have a clear message when you're writing something. And so that's what grammar does for us. Grammar and having good spelling and capitalization, those things help us to create a clear message in our writing. When you're writing something, the person who's reading it won't have you there next to them necessarily to explain it and to clarify things. So we need to be sure that we're clear the first time around. So here we have two statements, and one has just a simple change to it. It has an added comma. Now this top sentence says, "Let's eat Grandma." Well, without that comma, who's getting eaten for dinner here? But if we say, "Let's eat, Grandma," now we've changed the meaning entirely. We're saying, come on, let's eat with everyone else. So that one simple comma, as some people would say, will save lives. Using proper punctuation and grammar is really important for getting that clear message. So today we're going to talk about 5 points that we'll use to create better writing. The first one is to make sure that your subjects and verbs agree. The second one is to not mix up commonly confused words. The third one, to make sure each sentence is complete. The fourth one, to capitalize. And the fifth one, to use correct punctuation. These 5 things will take your writing from good to the best. So let's start by making sure that subjects and verbs agree. Here you'll see 2 sets of sentences, the incorrect side and the corrected side. So the first one says, "The dog chased the cat." Now, if our subject is the dog and the verb is chase, the correct version should say chases the cat. This happens a lot because often if we're speaking informally or quickly, we might drop that S. And so when you're writing, it can be easy to forget to put that on there. So I'd encourage you to remember that. If you're talking about something that would say he, she, or it, like the dog, you'll use that S at the end when you're talking about something that's happening in the present tense. On the second one, "the boy couldn't talk to me." Now, even though this might have happened in the past, and we know that ed ending on talked usually means the past, we actually can't use it here. The reason is we already have that verb couldn't, which is a helping verb. The verb couldn't is the only one that has any changes. We just have to use the original form of talk in that sentence. So instead of using that ed like you see in the incorrect version, we would just say, "The boy couldn't talk to me." The third sentence there says, "There is many paths to success." There is and there are is a very difficult one to figure out sometimes, but here's a simple trick. You have to look at what's after the verb and not just the subject verb at the very beginning. So here technically our subject verb is subject there, verb is or are, but we have to look at what comes after this special one to see if we use is or are. Now, if I said there is one path to success, because there would only be one, I would use is. But because here I said many paths, there's more than one, so I'll use there are many paths. Another key to good writing is making sure not to mix up some commonly confused words. Take a look at the lists we have here. To, and to all sound exactly the same, but take a look at the sentence to see the difference. 2 people is too many to cook in the kitchen. There and there. Their coats are over there. THEIR has to do with possession. It belongs to them. And THERE is the place. Let's and let's. She lets me go to the store on Fridays, so let's go. LETS without the apostrophe means allows, and with the apostrophe, it means let us. Affect and effect. I don't know how much the effects of this hurricane will affect us. With an E, this is a noun, and with an A, this is a verb. A and An. An ostrich and a gorilla became unlikely friends. An goes before a word that has a vowel sound at the beginning, and A goes before a word that has a consonant sound at the beginning. This and these. This shoe is too small for these men. This goes with something that's singular, just one shoe, and these goes before something that's plural, like all of the men. Its and its. It's too late to get the book back to its owner. With an apostrophe, this means it is. It's a contraction between it and is, putting them together, its. And without the apostrophe, it's the possessive, belonging to it. In addition to the earlier point, I'm making sure that our subjects and verbs agree in a sentence. We also need to make sure that sentences are complete. And one way to watch out for this is to look out for subordinating conjunctions. Now, all subordinating conjunctions are words that we add to the beginning of a sentence that takes it from being a complete and independent thought to suddenly now being dependent on something else. So let me give you an example. I could say the complete thought, I woke up late this morning, and that would be fine on its own. But if I add the subordinating conjunction since to the beginning of it and change it to since I woke up late this morning, now it's no longer a complete thought by itself. I need more information to make it complete. So I would have to add something like, since I woke up late this morning, I didn't make it to the meeting on time. Now that would be complete. You'll see some other examples here. When we arrived home, well, that's incomplete on its own. We would need to add another thought. What happened when you arrived home? Or if my roommate fails to pay his share of the rent, what happens? So make sure you complete that thought with the second part that goes with that subordinating conjunction and the dependent clause you've created. Other words to watch out for that are also subordinating conjunctions are although, because, once, unless, until, and while. The fourth reminder today is to capitalize sentences. And some key points to remember are that the first word of every sentence should be capitalized. The pronoun I should always be capitalized. Proper nouns such as a specific person, a specific place, a company, or another very specific thing that has a name, those things should be capitalized. And titles like Mr. or Mrs. or Doctor. Also the titles of books or songs, the title of a newspaper, or the title of a work of art. Our final point for today is to remember to use punctuation. Here's a quick recap of some of the main uses of some of the most common punctuation marks. A period ends a complete sentence, and it's also used after abbreviations, such as MR period for Mr. A question mark ends a question, and the quotation marks are used to show someone's exact words as they said them. But they can also be used to indicate the titles of smaller works, such as an article that's part of a larger magazine, or a song that's part of a larger album. Apostrophes are used to show contractions, like don't, do not. If we put the apostrophe in, we have D-O-N apostrophe T, don't. Or they show possession, like Amy's computer, A-M-Y apostrophe S. Commas are used to separate lists and to connect ideas in a compound sentence. And they have many other uses that we could get into in more detail in a future lesson. Hyphens are used to join two words together. Some examples might be well read, well hyphen read all together. Or a number word like 22 with a hyphen between those two words to put them together. An exclamation point shows excitement or emotion at the end of a sentence or after an interjection like ouch or no. A colon introduces a list of things. Parentheses show non-essential information in a text, and they put it aside by putting it inside the parentheses. And semicolons are used a lot like a period. They go at the end of a complete sentence, but they go before something that's connected to that complete sentence in another complete thought. So they still separate two complete thoughts, but those two complete thoughts have something to do with each other. They're related. Punctuation is something that takes practice, and one way to get used to different punctuation is by noticing how it's used as you're reading. In the description box below, you'll find these two links to be able to practice some of your error correction and editing skills. And the more you practice with being able to identify errors, the better editor you'll be. And that's one of the most important parts of being a good writer. Being a good writer isn't about necessarily writing a perfect first draft, but being able to edit and find ways to improve upon your own writing over time. Thanks so much for joining me today for Writing Club Recap. Don't forget to subscribe to the Helms Academy's YouTube channel and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and at helmsacademy.org.